Good evening, fellow vapors. This is Cass, and today I'm back at you with a pod device review. Yes, today we're going to be taking a look at this little bad boy. This here is the SX Mini Mi Class pod system. We will go down and look at it very, very closely on the table in a minute. I just want to talk about it. So what essentially has happened is SX Mini have released a pod device that has the Yihi chip built into it. This is an absolutely tiny little device. It's beautifully made. You've got this sort of blue filigree along the back of it, and it takes a 1 ohm ceramic coil. They say that it runs between 7 and 13 watts, and it takes replaceable pods that you can refill yourself, although because I believe it's a ceramic coil, you can't change the coil yourself, but you can refill it, and it takes these, and these push in like so. It's a wonderful little thing. It is supposedly SX's answer to the Orion pod from Lost Vape, but we will see in the up and close as to the features, what it comes with in the box, what you can do with it, how to fill it, how to turn it on. All of that we'll do in a moment, and then when we come back up, we'll talk about the pros and the cons and all of the interesting things that I think about this little device here. So let's get down on the table, have a look at this, and I will see you guys in a minute. Okay, so this is the box for the SX Mini. Looks like pretty much every single one of the others. Let's open it up and have a see what's inside. We have the device itself. I'll just put that there for now. Doesn't stand up nicely. There we go. And under here we have a little pin thing. It's kind of like what you get with an iPhone for the SIM card tray. I'm sure we'll find out what that's for in a minute. Put that there, don't want to lose that. And then we'll pull this box out the bottom, put that over there, and in here we have the charging cable. This is a right posh charging cable. We've got gold plated connectors, a braided cable, a little Velcro tidy. Kind of premium, I kind of like that. I think that's really nice that they've put in a really, and the thing is, it's got a good length to it. I hate when you get cables and they're like this long and you can't actually use it for anything. In the box, we've also got the user manual in many languages. We have a quick guide for filling and turning the device on. Unscrew the dripper, screw the dripper. You've got something to do with a childproof silicone thing, silicone seal, and then you've got how to use it in a quick thing. I like that, it's a nice quick guide. You don't have to hunt through the manual over here. What's weird is in this box, you might think, well, where's the pod? Why is there a pod? Now, I've got my pod here. This version of it actually comes without the pod in the box. It is a separate thing that should come in. And by separate, I mean it's, you know, it's outside of the box. You shouldn't have to pay separately for it, but it's not physically in the box. That's a really weird choice. Now, there are versions of it where it comes in the box, but this just seems a really weird choice to have a version where it doesn't come in the box. Now, I've been using this a day or two, and I actually lost the cap that goes over this, but there is a cap. You get a cap that goes over the top. Now, to fill the pod, we'll do that first and then we'll talk about the mod. To fill the pod, you unscrew this here, and this is the drip tip, and then you've got this here. Now, I think this is where that weird little key comes into play, which I can't pick up, and you poke the key into the hole and just give it a lift. And then you see you've got these two holes here to fill it, and it's nice that they've given you two holes because juice goes in one and air comes out the other, which is going to prevent all sorts of air locks and sort of all sorts of mischief that's going to be happening should you get that airlock, which is horrible on pod devices because I'm always paranoid that it's going to end up getting juice in the device and that's going to ruin it. But no, this is good for that. And then what you do, as you can see, you've got this plug that's going to plug up the two juice holes as well. So we'll just pop that back in there, push it down, and then screw this back down. And as you can see, this one's not fully full. I've left a little bit of liquid in there, but nice pods, nicely made. And the pod itself, if you look in here, to put it in the device, you've got this sort of this screw here that actually lines up with a divot on the pod, so you can push it in like so. So it pulls out, and you just sort of push the divot in. Nice and easy. The device itself, it is just over 10 centimeters long. It is 2 centimeters or just over across in diameter, and you've got a screen here which is just under 3/4 of an inch wide. To use the device, you click the button. Now, when you get it, it's going to be in lock mode or off mode. To unlock it, it's 3 clicks, 1, 2, 3, and it's going to unlock, and there your screen display should come on. Before I get into the screen display, if you want to change the brightness of the screen, which seems like a really weird setting to have, you thought maybe a power setting, you can change the brightness. Now you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you've got your brightness settings. There are 5 levels of brightness. as you can see there. I have mine on 2. I think 2's a good one. And then we just leave it for a second and it'll go off. There we go, and it goes back. Now what you have here is your battery level. The screen's going to go off a couple of times probably during this, but that's fine. You have a battery level, you have an output voltage, and you've got a puff count, because you know we still use puff counts in this day and age. So what will happen when I press this is it'll show battery sag. There you go, you can see it flicking up and down. Hopefully it'll go back to what it was. So what will happen is as this battery level drops, so will your output voltage. It's a direct voltage device with this Yihi chip in there. Now you might click it and you know, at the moment it's 3.8, you click it and it'll drop to 3.5. You think, bloody hell, my battery level is dropping fast. Actually, no, it's just the battery sag. So when you press it, that's the voltage you're getting. Now this will charge and it will show 4.2 volts. That is the maximum charge that it is capable of and the maximum output that it is capable of. The minimum I've found is it's when it drops to about 3.2 as what the battery level is, and it'll sag, showing that the battery level is empty, and it'll be about 2.9 volts. At that point, you really aren't getting very much. The puff counter will only register a puff when it's a puff of 2 seconds or more, which seems reasonable. And that is pretty much it with the screen. It is very simple to use. It does take you get a bit used to with that battery sag though. On the back, I must notice this, right? I went for the blue version because I think it looks awesome. Every single one of the devices has this wonderful filigree engraving, and it is engraved. It's not like an image printed or anything. It is actually engraved. You've got this tactile back to it, which gives it a nice bit of grip as well as looking awesome. And I think the blue one looks absolutely fantastic. I think it comes in about 5 or 6 different colors. You can get rose gold or gunmetal or silver or black. And you've got this aluminium front here, and you can actually get a gold colored front to it as well with the black, which looks absolutely spectacular. However, I think it is a touch more expensive. So this is it. You have on the bottom here, you have your charging port, and that little thing there, that tiny little thing, that's your LED. So as it's charging, that LED will be red, and when the charging is done, that LED will simply just go out. It won't go green or anything like that. The LED just goes out. So plug it in, charge it up. Takes about an hour and a half to charge from fully empty to fully full, which isn't bad. To say it's got a 450 mAh battery in here. I think you could probably fit an 18650 in here. I mean, how awesome would that be? An 18650 pod device. I think it would fit, but they've gone for a 450 mAh battery, which isn't terrible and actually lasts a fairly long time. I used this a day or so ago, and I got pretty much an entire day out of it when I got home from work, which is when I had to plug it into charge, which in the grand scheme of things really isn't all that terrible. So I'm quite happy with that. But it's beautifully made. You got the SX Mini logo engraved in there. It is a very premium feeling device. The tolerances are lovely. There's no rattling to it. Pods don't rattle in there. They don't move or wobble. Pulling it in and out is smooth. And you have got to make it, if you had it out even just a little way, that's going to come up. No atomizer. As soon as you push it in, that's when it will then fire. So make sure it is all the way in. Look at that. So simple to use. Flavor's fantastic, and I think that covers it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back up to the FaceTime. We are going to talk about it a little bit more, the pros, the cons, the prices, the colors, all of those wonderful, wonderful things, and we will decide whether it's a device worth having. This has been the Up and Close for the SX Mini Mi Class pod system. Alright, so now you've seen it up and close, you can see you get quite a few things with it. It's got a very interesting filling system, having that rubber ring that you've got to pull off. Now, that rubber ring is a bit of a pain in the arse to get off if you haven't got the little tool or if you're just on the move. But most importantly, how does it vape? Now, this is a device that if you are looking for something that's going to be airy and give you decent cloud, as some pod devices can do, this isn't going to be it. This is very much a tight mouth to lung draw. There is very little airflow. And I mean, I've been taking this apart a few times and I'm still trying to figure out how the air really gets in there. I mean, I know it goes down the sides and then up through the bottom. It's not really an airflow to speak of. It's more of just a gap in the seals, potentially. So that could be different. So if you're looking for something that's got a bit more of an open air draw, this isn't going to be the one for you. Battery life. Now, I have used this a full day before I had to put it on charge, but towards the end of that, probably within the last hour or so, it felt weak. It didn't feel like it was putting much out. However, the flavor is consistent throughout. You can chuff and chuff and chuff on this, and it isn't going to give you a dry hit, or at least I've not found that it gives you that dry hit that some other lesser pod devices do. It's very light. it's almost not very assuming. I mean, you've got this sort of fancy filigree design on the back, but that's about all the flair this thing's got. The tolerances on the pod are wonderful. The fact that it only goes in one way, so there's no mistaking which way it's going to go in. And you've obviously got the nice screen, which you can adjust in brightness. I sort of came up with the logic that if I have my screen quite low, it might save on battery life potentially. There's no way to turn this screen off though for when you're using it, because once it's set, you kind of just use it until it's run out. I don't really need too much of an indication of battery life or voltage. It's not really that important to me. As long as the chip is good and it's giving you consistent power, that's kind of the important thing. But the size of it's lovely, it's nice and light, and the button's nice and soft to press. It's not too clicky, it's not too protruding, it doesn't stick out so much, but you can still find it when you need it. So let's have a quick vape of this bad boy and talk a little bit more about it. I've had 4 or 5 really good rips on that. There's not huge vapor production going on here, but the flavor is absolutely lovely. Like I said, no dry hits whatsoever. It does tend to get a little bit warm after a few hits, but then, you know, it is a coil that has very little airflow going to it, so that is to be expected that it does get quite warm. The battery sag on it doesn't seem to affect it. That sort of seems to return quite quickly. So you press it and it'll say, I don't know, 0.3, 0.4 below what your battery voltage is, and you press it again and that will go back up. Filling it again, nice and fill. Just unscrew that top, pull out this inner section here, and then you fill it down. I haven't had any spillage problems with it because you've got 2 holes on either side. You know, air can get out one side whilst juice goes in the other, and it looks like there's a good capacity. You're not having to try and wriggle the juice into lots of little holes and get rid of air bubbles. That just isn't a thing with this. I haven't found the pod falls out either. Now, I have actually lost the cap for this pod because I'm clumsy like that, but you do get a cap with every pod that you can put on it whilst it's in. Sometimes you get caps with them that simply don't fit when the pod is in the device. Now, let's take a quick look at the spare pods. I've got a pack of spare pods here. Now, the nice thing with these is you get this fancy smancy tube that I quite like, but you get 2, and inside there, I don't know if you can see that, you get 2 O-rings. Now these O-rings actually sit inside the top of the mod here. That's where they sit there, and I guess they assume that if you're going to be taking this pod in and out all the time, it's going to wear the O-rings out. I've never had O-rings wear out that fast, so I think you're going to end up with quite a lot of spare O-rings. These are the pods here. As you can see, they've still got the rip strips on them that say, you know, prime before use, etc, etc. And it's just a case of pour it in, give it a few puffs to get that juice through, leave it a minute or 2, and then you're good to go, pretty much. Now, price point on these. Now, there's 5, 6 different colors. You can get either a black, silver, or gold front bar here, and then you get on the back here, you've got black, you've got like a gunmetal, you've got blue, you have a straight up silver, and you've got like a rose gold color as well. I've gone for the blue tang, as they call it, with the silver front. Prices, they're ranging at the moment anywhere from about £33 up to about £38, depending on the finish you go for. I think the gold one is the more expensive one, and the replacement pods are anywhere between the region of £6 to £8. I've seen them different prices, different places. I paid £6 for mine. One place I saw was £6.50, one place was £7.50. So shop around for those. You get them in packs of 2. Now, the strange thing is, this particular version, the pod that you get with the device actually came outside the box in a separate little box. Now, there is a version, and I don't know whether it's the American version of it or not, that actually has that in the box as a kit. So when you buy this, make sure that they send you your individual coil that will come with this. There is no pod in this box. You got to make sure that that actually comes with it because it wasn't in there. There's no space for it. So make sure that is the case. There are 2 versions seemingly. I don't know if there's a price difference. I don't know what's going on with that. The replacements come in these tubes of 2, and they seem to be lasting well. I mean, I filled this one sort of 3-4 times over the last day and a half, and I've had no signs of it burning out. I've had no signs of dry hits or the loss of flavor or vapor production. It's wonderful. It's a really lovely little device. If you're into your pod devices, I mean, the build quality is wonderful. All the tolerances are fantastic. The brushed sort of aluminium on the front here looks and feels wonderful. There's no loose bits. There's no rattling to speak of. The fact that the pod is in and out, and that doesn't move once that's in there. It's not going to drop out on you. Beautiful. Charging it, you've got that down the bottom there, and obviously you've got your little red LED that just goes out when it's fully charged. That's nice and simple. That said, there's no leaking out of the pod with it being on its side. The pod is nice and sealed. I don't get any spitting, I don't get any spit back or anything like that. I do wish that it was a little more open on the airflow, but I do like a nice tight mouth to lung, and that is this. If you're expecting to get clouds out of this, you just aren't going to. It's just not going to happen. So bear that in mind when you're purchasing it. But if you want something that's good for flavor, something that's going to give you a good hit, this would be the one to go for. Now, I've seen them all over online. So yeah, I got this one online, and I think it's a good little device. I think this is going to be a good collection if you are someone who likes your pod systems. I think it's... See, I haven't used the Orion, so I can't make that comparison, but I feel like you're going to get more vapor out of the Orion. However, this feels like a really premium vape. It is very, very restricted. I think that probably about wraps it up for this. I mean, this has been the SX Mini Me class, which is a curious name considering we also have the Me Pod, but this is the Me class, and for under £40, you're going to get yourself a good little device. It's cheaper than some of the Me Pods are. I think it's better. I think the chip in it is fantastic. I think it gives you really accurate battery readings. And for a 450 mAh battery, A, it doesn't take very long to charge, and B, it lasts you ages. For a 1 ohm ceramic coil, that's fantastic. I think if they were to make any improvements, I think I would like a slightly higher resistance coil, maybe 1.2. And I'd like there to be some way that they can open that airflow up a bit, just to give it a little bit more of a hit on the pull, maybe a little bit more vapor production. Maybe, you know, if there was a way for them to put an air channel into the pods on this so that you got a bit more air through it, I think that would be good. But actually, I quite like how tight it is. It's a good little device, and it's not one that I think you'll regret. Definitely worth a pickup for the money that they cost. It's been a pleasure looking at this for you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button on this video, and drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys think of the SX Mini Me Class pod system. It is a bit of a mouthful, I must admit. But thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.